How do you go through opportunity selection and balancing your kind of achievement brain outcomes and your philanthropic impact feeding families outcomes?
I look at opportunities first on a business perspective.
Yeah.
I look at opportunities first to see, do I have passion for what it's about? Is it something that I would do for free if I felt it was really successful, that it felt fulfilling, it felt alive, it felt it was worth doing, right? Is there a mission behind it? Is it selling widgets? I have no interest, right? Second thing I look for is, who are the people? I want people I'm going to enjoy being with. Like, I would enjoy being with you in spite of this conversation sounding like I wouldn't, because I bring out my anabolic couch. I bet your wife brings out my anabolic couch, right? So I'm trying to make sure that I was doing business, I make sure this guy was present, right? But I look at the people and I look at their heart and soul, what's driving them, and I also look at their skill, because you need both, right? So if somebody's got a track record, someone's negotiating with me right now on a really large project, and if the project made no money, I would probably do the project as long as I organize it so I can have it kind of work my time and my energy, because the project has such reach, global reach, on a very deep level. I'm very connected to it, and this person's built a business and went to $2 billion, so they got a great track record. It's not me carrying it all, but together 1 + 1 could equal 5, not 2. So a deal like that gets my attention, because most of the money I make I give away at this stage of my life anyway, right? It's like there's I'm not hurt for any capital. Yeah. I know there's no toy that I'm looking for, and it never drove me anyway. So for me, it's like, if it's got enough juice in it here, the people I'm going to enjoy being with. It's going to have juice in terms of the impact, and then it has track record of the person likely to help get there, so it isn't all my back. The two of us are adding some value together. It's about added value. Then I'm in, and it's like, let's rock this thing. Let's make it happen. Let's have some fun. See, mine's let's have some fun, not let's do the duty, right? It's like, I'm going to learn. We're going to grow. We're going to expand different things. We're going to touch lives. We're going to have these things. So those are my core criteria, and I'm not always right. But one thing I will tell you that I've done in business, because I've made some poor choices in the early days on business partners. Everybody's selling when you're going to business partnership, right? And it's like going on a date, So it's like you get sold, and the question is not going to do the job. Do the job well long term. Is the right team fit? Like, they're deeper questions. But I now, when I have so many business deals, the first thing I do early on, I just had this happen recently with somebody's. I own a large power plant, a 1.3 gigawatt power plant. I'm converting it to hydrogen. So it's in West Virginia.
Told me about this, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a great project. But I have some people involved that shouldn't have been involved, and so I had some new people come on board. And what I do now is I go, they sold me. I was actually liking them. I felt the vision was great. They seemed to have the track record. Everything seemed lined up. And I said, look, what I always do in any new partnership is I have everybody check me out legally. I want you to check out everything online, hire a private detective you want, know everything about me, and you can ask me any question you want. But I want to do the same with you, because that's how I know when I'm starting. Now, by the way, though, nothing I hear will I take as true, because it's not true, but I'll bring it to you and we can discuss it. And then you and I can tell, most people have you and I have large bullshit meters, right? We can tell when something's bullshit. Yeah. It's a perfect example. And this guy, we had a deal worth, 10 figures plus, looked really good, ghosted us, ghosted us. Because and then I uncovered 3 or 4 things he'd done that were not great. And I was like, I just saved myself 3 to 5 years of pain. So I do believe in the practical side, but I'm not even interested in going there unless I can first find these pieces, and unless I believe already there. But I can get fooled, right? I'm not perfect. Right?
So I have one last question for you.
Okay.
which is the most selfish of all my questions. So you're 36 years old. You have built businesses, and the skill set that you are most proud of is that you're good at helping business owners.
Yeah.
The only thing I feel emotional connection to is teaching young men how to provide for themselves and their families. That's the only thing that actually because I know that pain.
Yes. So you're connected to it.
That's the only thing.
Makes sense.
And to me, I built a lot of the business and all that stuff basically around that. But I still don't feel like that massive emotional drive. That being said, what would you have played differently from your 36-year-old self to current that you could kind of pass on to me? Basically, what can I change about my behavior to maximize my enjoyment and size of impact?
You have to make an enjoyment a priority, which you've not. You've always gotten your priorities, brother. You're an overachiever.
Yeah.
But there's two skills in life. There's the science of achievement, which you're unbelievably great at, and there's the art of fulfillment, which you're not. So great at
Horrendous.
by your description.
Oh,
Right? And by the way, notice the language difference. The science of achievement, it's a science. Like you and I both know, if you want to make money, there's a science to it, right? If you want to be fulfilled, though, that's as unique as every human being you're going to meet. And so you haven't found that piece. Now you gave some clues along the way. Like, why am I so interested in feeding people? Because I'm such a good person? No, because I suffered, right? So I want other people to suffer. So I started out of that, but now it's not out of suffering, it's out of joy. You can get started out of the pain, passion does.
Yeah.
You don't stay in the pain, right? You've kind of stayed in the pain, even though you've gone past it.
Yeah.
But what you just said is, well, a clue for me is that's the one place I can start to get fully associated to, because I know what it takes to do that, and I know what it feels like to be able to take care of my family. I know the contrast, right? So I would take a look at that and expanding it, but I try to find a way to do it where I had a moonshot. Something that's like right now you're
A
not
moonshot
being,
of that.
what's that?
A moonshot of
exactly.
that. Yeah.
That's what I say. Earlier, I'm not saying you should go feed people or bring those checks. The problem with those checks is you didn't give a shit.
1,000. I mean, it's
So
true.
you feel poor, and then you probably feel bad about yourself for doing it.
I
Because
did.
I'm supposed to do good stuff, and why don't I feel good by
100%.
doing good stuff? Because it's not your passion.
Like a piece of shit. I was like, I selfishly wrote these checks so that I would feel good, and now I
still
don't even feel good, and now I'm just $2 million poorer. But like, I shouldn't feel bad about doing good. And there's this whole thing.
Wait,
fuck it,
so question, head or heart was having that discussion?
Sure, head, of course, yeah.
So analytical, but by the way, as you're laughing about it now, who's in charge right now?
Yeah, anabolic, yeah.
Right. That little shift, which sounds like nothing, I hope if nothing else you hear me say, you play with that just a little bit in your life and bring him to the table. But if you come up with a moonshot connected to that, like I'm gonna make this completely wrong. I'm gonna help 10 million young men.
Yeah.
Who right now think they can't buy a home, they can't do it. Most young people here have been sold this bullshit bill of goods. Inflation's 3%, and I got 24 million at 4 million, and it's like that's the catastrophizing analytical side. That's assuming that you're not going to have any growth in your assets. And also, when you're 86, which is when that would be 50 years from now, do you really think you're going to spend the same money? What the hell are you going to be buying? You already own multiple homes. You've already had those. They've all grown in value. So most young people, they are not involved with free enterprise, as you know, and so that's why they want communism, because they've never been there. I was in USSR. When I was 23 years old, and I took a train from Moscow to Siberia with a group of scientists. I was brought because of my firewalking, things like that by their government, and back. I spent 2 weeks there. It made me a capitalist. Because every stop we did, there's the same thing in every city. There's a central place for the train stops. And we've been having caviar, and all these Russians are like wealthy on this plane. They're all supposed to be equal. And then you see people literally 3/4 of a mile around, multiple times, maybe half a mile around, waiting in the freezing cold for half a loaf of bread and milk. What life needs you to do is if you live in a free enterprise system and you're not an owner, you're going to be in pain. You know that. You build businesses. I tell kids sometimes, I'm like, here's what you understand. If you put $300 aside while you're still living at home and you're 19 and you only invested and do it all in the S&P 500, you don't know anything about investing, and you stopped investing when you're 27 and you've only put $28,000 in, at 65 you got 1.8 million. God forbid if you keep investing, right? And all the numbers got bigger. You look at people today.
AI is transforming industries, but how do you
They buy an iPhone, and they buy a new one every year. They've been going on since 2007. I looked it up just the other day. I actually made a chart to show kid, and he was telling me about, there's no way you can succeed. And I said, okay, you've had an iPhone since the beginning. There's been 19 years of iPhones, whatever it's been. It's now, he'd spend 20, I took the exact dollar amounts for each one, and what the stock was at the same day. If you would have bought the stock versus the iPhone or just matched it. $22,000 you spend over time, which is gone, or $326,000 you would have. Or no. Saying 326 will change your life, but for somebody who's not the insurance, I would, right? But the other part for it is helping people understand that if I get to be an owner, the whole game changes. Then inflation can be my friend. I don't have to live in this fear I can't have something. So you could bring that to kids, or whatever age. You could bring them and say, I got to come something, I'm going to take 10 million or a million or some whatever would float your boat. And then when you see those kids and you see scale of that, and you see them taking care of their families, and you hear stories about that, I don't think it'll be old for you. What you write the checks for?
Kids after school care.
Okay. And you don't have any kids. So you have no association with that whatsoever. Right? Okay. It's like shit. But and I'm not saying write a check, I'm saying go make this happen. Like go you've done so much. You need to find something there, but you found the thread.
Yeah.
But for me, I wrote 4 books on finance. I never expected to do it. You know why I wrote it? Because I got pissed off in 2008. I've coached Paul Tudor Jones for 24 years, one of the greatest financial traders in the history of the world. Every single day, measure what he's doing, coached him through all these pieces. He had the most success in 1987 when the stock market had his biggest percentage drop in history, 20% a day. He made 100%. But then it was like the moon. He went to the moon, and what do you do? And he broke his leg, and then he dropped. So I had to turn around. We've been friends. I worked with him all those years. I learned so much from him. But when we got to 2008, and I don't know if all of your viewers have been around that long, but it was much more brutal in some ways than 2020 and COVID, because COVID gave people money. There was no money then, right? And I remember being so angry because I knew a small number of people basically almost destroyed the entire economic system, and then I thought they were going to be punished, and we gave them more money.
So that they could have more money they can use.
That's right, exactly right. So I was incensed. So out of that anger, I said, I don't have all the answers, but I have one thing: I have access. Yeah. So I'm going to interview 50, the book you read, 50 of the smartest individuals on earth who started with nothing. Nobody from the Lucky Sperm Club. They all started from scratch. And I'm going to see, even though they're radically different, what do they have in common? I'm going to write a book that my billionaire clients are going to love, but an average person could do as well. Well, that journey never stopped. Then I was like, how do I help people accelerate? I look around today and I see so many people that don't feel they have a compelling financial future. And so I started looking around.
That's my heart, just so you know.
Pardon me?
That's my heart.
Okay, well, me too. So my approach to that, maybe what I'm planning to see with you, this may be something when you're teaching people to add. You probably don't know this, but you may not know this part. So I'm looking around, and like in the last 39 years, every single stock market in the world, which is where most people put their money besides real estate, right? And if it's their own home, it just barely beats inflation, right? As you well know. Every stock in the world has been beaten by private equity. By average private equity. So I interviewed the top 13 guys in the world, right? Well, the top 13 guys in the world, it's wonderful to interview them, but how are you going to get money in there, right? Because it's like trying to buy an SP3 Ferrari, right? You want to go get one, they're all pre-sold at $3 million, right? Yeah. But if you have one, and if you know the right person, So I got into some of those cool funds, like Vista. Robert Smith he's a genius. He's got $100 billion fund. He's averaged 26% compounded per year for 25 years. Yeah. It's like, it's unheard of, right? Nobody even thought. But you can't get in, or you might get in. I got in, but I got such a.
It's like, we'll take $100,000.
$100,000. But okay, so let's look at this. Let's just do this. Try this for the people at home. In the last 39 years, if you put your money in the S&P 500, it's averaged 9%. Okay. So if you put $1 million in there, at the end of this time, you'd have 28.6 million. If it's 100,000, it'd be 2.86 million, right? Yeah. But put in average private equity, it's been every stock market in the world, average private equity, not the guys I'm talking about. Yeah. Average private equity has averaged 15.7% per year around the world. 75% higher per year, compounded year after year. Yeah. You put in that same $1 million, instead of 28 million, you have 293 million.
More.
10x. Okay, forget your 3% worries that you're talking about. Screw that shit. Let's take it to 100,000. Then you have, instead of 2.8 million, you have 29 million. Right. Same time. Yeah. Passive investor. Yeah. But then the next thing you got to say to me is, Tony, well, yeah, that's great, Tony, but you can't get access. So that's what I believe too. Like, I had access, but small access. And then I met a guy who'd been through my business master program for 20 years. He started his business. I was telling my frustration about, I don't want to get these little slivers. They don't change your life. I want to get him bigger. And he goes, Tony, I'm going to tell you where I put the majority of my money. This is a very sophisticated investor. And I said, okay, I'm leaning in on this one, right? He goes, there's a company in Houston, Texas. And Houston, Texas, I'm thinking Singapore, London, New York. He goes, off the beaten path, has mastered something unbelievable. He said, you know the difference private equity? I said, of course. He goes, what if instead of buying the fund and fighting to get a small piece, you could own the company that owns all the funds and make the 2 and 20 yourself, side by side with the owners? Yeah. I said, you could do that? He goes, there's only a few companies in the world that do it. These guys are brilliant to get what they call general partnership stakes. So you're a limited partner, as you know, if you go and you got a limited amount, you get in there. Yeah. I said, how do you do that? So I went and met with this guy. Turned out he was a graduate of my program, so 20 years ago, started his business with it. It's called CAS, it's Christopher Zook. And I talked to Christopher, and so I put some money in with him. And the next thing I know, I got ownership in Vista. I got a little slice of Vista, right? I'm getting the 2 and 20. So I have 95 of those companies now that have a piece of. It is nothing but a cash machine beyond your wildest dreams. I get to work with the smartest people in the world. They're working all night, and I'm right beside them earning without working all night on those theses, right? And now the same thing with sports teams. I worked forever to get my first sports team, the LAFC, and you got to go through they look at a microscope through every part of your body. It's just ridiculous, right? But the rules have changed recently. And now, if you have private equity and the owners don't own other sports teams, there's some technicalities with it. There's a small percentage that you can buy. So I own I own the Dodgers. I was growing up, I couldn't be in right field. I couldn't afford a ticket, right? The Dodgers, I own the Golden State Warriors, I own the Pittsburgh Penguins, I own Aston Martin F1, I own pieces of all these businesses all through our business. Then I became partners with him and grew that business. When I met him, it was 1.8 billion. That was 4 years ago. Now we're at 11 billion just in AUM in that business. So the opportunity to grow is insane, but here's the problem. You had to be an accredited investor, which means you got $1 million net worth, or a qualified purchaser, 5 million. So your young people are going to go, I can't do that. I wrote this book because I found out, and it just passed 3 weeks ago. The House just passed a new rule. Why should the richest people in the world be the only people who get access to the most effective investments? Don't get me wrong. You got to diversify, but you got to have a significant port here if you get this kind of 10 times return. And so they were smart, because like they say, well, you're not sophisticated. Well, some people have $1 million, but they inherited it. They're not sophisticated, or they're a good business person, but they're not a good investor. So a group of people, I was arguing with this, and it wasn't me, it finally got resolved. 3 weeks ago, they passed the law. Now the Senate will pick it